What's up, everybody? Brett Mix, Macho Wrestling 101 here for the Raw review. So that was the show tonight from December the 4th, 2023. It ended with Drew McIntyre showing up. I thought he was going to show up all along. I just thought he was going to cost Jey Uso the match. I didn't think he was going to suplex him through a table afterwards. CM Punk not on the show tonight. In my preview, I went over that was probably going to be the case because that was what Meltzer reported about the 1,700 extra tickets being sold, and a lot of those tickets were right after CM Punk showed up on Raw for the first time, so a lot of people probably went home disappointed they didn't get to see him. But nonetheless, let's get into this Raw review. Grab a drink, stay a while. I'm Brett Mix, Macho Wrestling 101. Hit like and subscribe if you like my channel. I do reviews with Raw, SmackDown, PLE events. I keep up to date, plus I do the Monday Night Wars. Going back, watching each Raw and Nitro, it's a fun time. So yeah, if you dig going back and watching the Monday Night Wars any time, you don't have to watch it live with me. You can watch it always in my archive, the Nitros and Raws, so you can go back and pick a time to watch, and you can watch it like that. And if you don't want to watch that and you want to watch other pay-per-view reviews, there's that too. So consider subscribing if you haven't already. So, Raw came to you from Albany, New York, December the 4th, 2023. The show was good wrestling-wise, but there's more to the show than good matches. The decision of not having CM Punk on is such a disappointment. It makes SmackDown better, but you need to build on the momentum you carried on Raw with the ratings boost. He needs to say more than just, "I'm home," and he will on SmackDown, but it's a missed opportunity here on Raw. Those fans that showed up, those 1,700 extra tickets, as I mentioned, they're going to be going home disappointed. And it's kind of like, I can give you an analogy in wrestling terms. It's kind of like, yeah, it made Backlash 2000 better when Stone Cold returned and The Rock won the title, but they had to sacrifice WrestleMania 2000 for it. So it's kind of like they're sacrificing, tonight's the WrestleMania 2000 where Triple H retains the title and The Rock doesn't get his moment. And Friday night on SmackDown is the Backlash 2000 where Austin returns and The Rock wins the title. That's kind of how it's being booked right now. I get that they're trying to stretch it out as long as they can make it last, but I just felt it was kind of cheap. I thought they should have had him back on Raw. I can see the TV ratings being low for this Raw again. I can see them dropping significantly. Whether they go up again next week, they probably will because he's advertised. But after it was clear that he wouldn't show up, I think the ratings will take a hit. I'm not saying they'll go back to 1.4, 1.5, but they'll definitely go down from the 1.8 they just hit. But we'll have to see what the Raw draws, because it did have good wrestling. But there's more to Raw than good wrestling. So Drew McIntyre begins the show walking to the ring he's like looking like a face. He even clapped a few fans' hands on the way to the ring, and he's in his in-ring attire. That looks so choreographed and like we know what's gonna happen. So I knew a match was gonna take place right away. And can he pick an alignment and stick to it? He's so good, Drew McIntyre. He's so close to being great, in my opinion. He can never pick an alignment and stay with it. Maybe because of what we saw at the end of the show, he will finally now with this whole "the truth will set you free." But yeah, I just would like McIntyre to stick to one character, because when he was the Scottish psychopath before, Charlie Caruso would come around and he'd be like joking. He'd be like, "Hey, Charlie. Yeah, yeah," and he'd be smiling and laughing, but he's the Scottish psychopath. What the fuck, So he just, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, he says he's the one. Drew McIntyre comes to the ring and he talks about a couple people. Then he says, "Who am I forgetting?" And he says, "Oh yeah, Sami Zayn." And Sami Zayn's music hits. Really, it's pretty much the same time. Sami Zayn comes out, and Drew says that he's the one person in the world to get screwed out of the bloodline because he was part of their group. He deserved it. He screwed them over, so what was he expecting to have happen? Zayn says the more the truth he hears from McIntyre, the more he learns he's nothing like him. Sami Zayn says he's driven, motivated, and when he lost in front of his family, he didn't whine about it. He blamed everybody else for his shortcomings. He took accountability. He got redemption by winning in the main event of WrestleMania, making his family proud. Then he says, "Do you think you're making your family proud, Drew?" McIntyre says, "One of us aren't walking out of here tonight. Give me a damn referee now." It's a bit choreographed with Drew coming in as ring attire, as I mentioned already. The fans chant Sammy, and we have our opening contest, Drew McIntyre vs. Sami Zayn, an impromptu match. McIntyre, the belly-to-belly overhead suplex to Sami Zayn. There's "Let's Go Sammy" chants. Zayn hits some high spots to Drew. Then we go to a commercial break like we always do when there's a first high spot. Back from commercial, Drew McIntyre throws Zayn up top of the barricade and comes back with a moonsault to Drew onto the floor. Nice spot by Zayn there. Nice agility with that backflip. And a hard chop. Drew chops him in the middle of the ring right after and smiles sadistically. Drew is methodical in his approach, not working at fast pace, just doing his spots, knowing that the cameras are going to catch all the good stuff from his character. Zayn comes off the top of the chop, but he tweaks his leg, and his leg is really sensitive here. And Drew McIntyre hasn't smelt blood yet on the leg, but he will later. The more I watch Zayn flip around, the more I'm reminded of Eddie Guerrero if in the mid-90s Nitro, because I'm reviewing the Nitros right now, as I've mentioned. And yeah, we're looking exactly like him. Zayn elevates with a springboard crossbody, but Drew McIntyre catches him in midair and tosses him over the announcer's table. So Zayn is hurt, and now he's more hurt. In the commercial break, another commercial break. The action was so good, so it was unfortunate that we had to go to a commercial there. Zayn with a sunset flip powerbomb for the win out of nowhere in the corner, but even though McIntyre was kicking the shit out of Sami Zayn, he got near fall after near fall. Fans chant, "This is awesome," and Sammy, Sammy, Sammy. Both men are down. It's been a war. In the end, Zayn tries to lift Drew up, but can't, but then he gets hit with a shot up top. Drew in the corner goes for a claymore, but Zayn countered it with a blue thunder bomb after a kick to the head. I can't see them making Drew lose this one after all he's lost. McIntyre spots the knee being sore and goes to the back of the knee, then a claymore. McIntyre wins at 20 minutes and 7 seconds. Great match. Really good stuff here. I rated this 3 stars and 3/4. I thought it was a 3.75 star match. Next, Shayna Baszler standing around with Zoe Stark, because that's how Zoe's probably going to get on TV tonight, just standing around. Whenever you see somebody that's not in the segment and they're standing right next to them, you know that that person's got nothing on the show coming up. They're there to be it's a cameo appearance. It's to say, hey, I'm still on the roster, but I don't have a slot tonight. That's what Zoe Stark. I knew right away when Shayna Baszler was interviewed about Nia Jax. She said she's standing around, and she said that Byron Saxton asked her about Nia Jax, and she says she's going to remind her that she broke her arm, and she's going to remind her limb by limb. And I'm thinking, oh, God, I hope so. Please break Nia Jax's limbs. Please do that. And Zoe Stark's right next to her smiling and does nothing, and I'm just like, okay, that's Zoe Stark's cameo appearance for the night. She's not doing anything else. Sure enough. They do a video package on Jey Uso earlier in the night for tonight's main event, and it was a really good video package, but I would have rather had a face-to-face promo rather than Sammy and Drew. I would have done it Jey and Rollins at the beginning of the show to build for the main event. But it was still a good video package. I get that Drew McIntyre needed some character work, some time to work on his character, because he couldn't do it with Randy Orton opening the show last week and CM Punk closing it. So I get that they needed to fit in Drew somewhere, but they could have found a slot in the middle of the show. Either way, they did it and it worked out. Drew attacked Sami Zayn backstage, saying he's nothing like him and he brought it on himself. Then he goes and kicks the ankle that's bad, and Zayn yells out, and all the commentators and Adam Pearce and all the professional people in the back tell him to go away and tell Drew to stop it. They didn't care that he was beating him up, but right when he kicked his ankle, and that's when they're like, okay, it's enough. So where were they, just watching before that? It's just weird how that happens that way. Becky Lynch, but I'm not going to nitpick, because if you nitpick a wrestling show, just like any show, you could nitpick for hours, and you could, it just doesn't lead to anything productive. Becky Lynch then comes in, and Nia Jax interrupted Becky, reminding the man of the punch heard around the world when Becky made her name. Lynch said she owed her a receipt for that. I love how they're using inside terms on Raw. Receipt, squashing. Nia Jax said she was going to squash somebody. Becky Lynch says she's going to get a receipt. Just using wrestling terms, it's pretty funny because it's generally known now. So now we got Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. Shayna tried to hyperextend the elbow with a triangle choke in the corner, and it went wrong as Jax hit the powerbomb out of that. Then outside the ring, threw her into the announce table. Shayna driving Nia spine first into the post. A leg drop by Jax, and Cole says Nia's taking over, and then we go to a commercial. Jax then came back from the break. She squished Shayna's head against the post. Jax in control, but Baszler tried to fight back. Nia Jax hits a Samoan drop, and then Shayna capes to Jax. Shayna drops Jax's head into the turnbuckle. Shayna with a running knee, an avalanche, and a running slam by Baszler, but Baszler kicked out. Jax went to the top to squish her, but ankle lock off the top into a German suplex by Shayna. The Karafuda clutch to Nia. Shayna trying to lock it in, but Nia gets up and drives Baszler to the mat. Nia to the second rope with the Annihilator, and of course Baszler is jobbing to Nia Jax. Not too bad of a match. I gave it a star and 3/4, but I don't like Shayna Baszler just losing to Nia Jax like that. Becky Lynch then asks Jax to meet her in the ring, and Jax says no, on my time only, and Jax walks back to the back. Then they show CM Punk won't be on Raw because they say next up Punk Friday Night SmackDown. So I guess we have to wait till SmackDown to hear him address Rollins. But that won't even make sense because he's not on that show, Rollins. So now we have to wait another week for that to happen again. I was the one defending him not on last week because I said let it play out. But if he's not on for another Raw, it's just going to be disappointing. And it ended up being disappointing. Now he's going to be on the Tribute to the Troops episode of SmackDown. And they're likely going to stretch this out as much as possible, this program with Punk and Rollins, if that's what the direction they're going to go. We don't know. All we've heard him say is, I'm home, so how are we to know what direction they're even going in? And he's going to show up on SmackDown where Rollins isn't even there. So next week should be the first time he even addresses Rollins from Cleveland, Ohio, next week on Raw. Next up, we got Imperium versus DIY in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Fall 1, Vinci and Kaiser against Ciampa and Gargano here. Vinci with a slick-looking crossbody to Ciampa. Barrett mentions how quick it was, and it was really quick. Ciampa runs into a reverse elbow, and Imperium with the tights at 4:52. They won the first fall. The second fall now as DIY looked impressive coming back. We go to commercial. In the second fall, the DIY win at 9 minutes and 30 seconds. The third fall begins near the 10-minute mark of the match, and Imperium catch a double clothesline as Ciampa takes both guys down. The fans applaud. Gargano's the legal man, and he hits a running slam, but a near fall. Vinci with a nice tilt-a-whirl backbreaker to Gargano. Nicely applied, but a near fall. Gargano hits a Hurricane Rana to get out of Imperium's finishing move. A rolling senton by Kaiser. Now Vinci, the legal man, and a moonsault gets him a 2. Precision footwork and body control, says Barrett about the offense from Vinci. A thrust kick to Gargano to Kaiser, by Gargano to Kaiser. Gargano then clocks Vinci. A thrust kick comes both ways. A DDT out of nowhere. Vinci lands on his head. This is a great match. Again, this is an awesome chant from the crowd for the second match tonight. I get it, but does it have to be during every good match? Ciampa then down goes Kaiser and Gargano from both corners. They both set him up to do a 2-on-1. Vinci intercepts and Gargano is rolled up by Kaiser in a near fall. Ciampa and Gargano delivered kicks covered by Ciampa with the victory at 14:34. And DIY end up with the win. Good match here. I think everyone expected that. I gave it 3 stars and a quarter. So that's the second match, if you're keeping track of, or 3 stars tonight. Usually Raw's matches don't get to the 3-star. When I rate these star ratings, I tend to be a little bit critical. I don't give four stars very often, so I save those for the truly elite matches. They show the Creed brothers that are number 1 contenders, and they're backstage with Ivy Nile and the New Day. Maxine does squats with Tozawa, showing her strength. Then they have backstage R-Truth and the Judgment Day together because of their chemistry last week, probably when Judgment Day was with R-Truth, and R-Truth made all those jokes about being on their team for War Games, even though War Games was over. JAD tells Truth to get the hell out of the room and away from the Judgment Day, and Priest says, yeah, but not that harsh. They say Mommy isn't here tonight, which gets loud boos. CM Punk didn't even get a loud boo when they advertised him for SmackDown, but they boo when Rhea Ripley's not on the show. Carter and Atana chance against Tegan Nox and Natalya. Chance with a code breaker. Carter and Atana chance with a standing moonsault. The crossbody gets the job done. Piper Niven and Chelsea Green throw a tantrum at the ringside. This tag match for the girls was about a star and a quarter. Cody Rhodes heads out to the ring. Him and Nakamura have been on similar paths as Shinsuke, as Cody brings up fearing the mist back in the day when the Great Muda did it. I like that remark about Muda, and said his fears were justified when he experienced it firsthand. Shinsuke says they have the same path. Cody says if we do, prove it, and then he does the mic drop. Jey Uso backstage calls Adam Pearce Oos, then he calls him AP. I don't know which name is funnier for him. Gunther then shows up to talk to Adam Pearce, so he makes a 5-second cameo appearance, and we can't see what they're saying because they go to the ring, and Judgment Day is coming out. So the two lesser of the Judgment Day are taking on the Creed brothers. Who are they going to have lose here is what I was wondering, because the Creeds, you can't lose. They're building them as the new Steiners, and they're undefeated. But the Judgment Day, and they're the number one contenders. But the Judgment Day just lost at War Games. Are they really going to drop a match to a rookie team now? See the issue? Should be a jobbers match. Unless you 50-50 book these teams, which is what they're doing. Just because they're the bottom of the two Judgment Day doesn't mean it's okay for them to lose, because even Priest took the L at War Games. I went into it with an open mind, but Brutus Creed with great amateur wrestling. Brutus Ball gets the win. The new number one contenders are still the number one contenders, and the Judgment Day lose again. I gave that tag match 2.5 stars. Rollins gets to make comments about Punk again backstage when Adam Pearce tells him that he invited him to a show next week. And Seth Rollins says, don't come to crying to me when he shows his true colors. At least we know he's going to be on Raw next Monday from Cleveland, at the very least. Rollins and Uso have a face-to-face before their match. Jay says, it's his night, Uso. It's his night. And Rollins says he's going to kick him his head to the canvas. And then Jay says, well, I think I'm going to kick you. And they both do a fist pump, and that's that. Next up, we got the main event. Seth Rollins defending the world title against main event Jey Uso. Seth and main event Jey Uso tie up. Not going to do play-by-play for the whole match because it was a good one. It lasted 22 minutes and 34 seconds by my count. So yeah, it was a great match, back and forth. Right away in the match, both guys size each other up with chain wrestling sequences, hammerlock, go behind, waistlock, standing switches, and back from a commercial, as that was what leads us to a commercial, the standing switches. Bad News Barrett makes a great point, saying you never know when opportunities are going to come this way again. CM Punk chants during Rollins Jay, which has got to big Rollins, which has got to bug Rollins. The CM Punk chants. Fans chant "Yee" with all the shots to Rollins. Jay doesn't get Rollins off his feet. Rollins mad. CM Punk chants there again, and a big uppercut because he makes a face when the camera zooms in on him. Rollins down in the corner comes flying with a sling blade, and off the top that connects with a frog splash. But Uso kicks out at 2. Uso looking for his first ever singles title. And a roll-up out of nowhere for main event Jey Uso and a close near fall. A thrust kick by Jey Uso where Rollins kicks out. That's the third match of the night. The crowd has chanted, this is awesome too. I get it. All three great matches, but still, like, every single match that's great doesn't need the chant. Rollins with a superplex into a Falcon Arrow, but Jey kicked out. Pedigree and Jey kicked out again. Seth in the corner goes for the curb stomp, but Jey went for the spear and almost got the 3. I said I wouldn't do play-by-play, but I'm just reading the climax here. That's it. Rollins with a buckle bomb and a spear out of nowhere by Jey. He goes up top for a splash for a second time, but once again Rollins kicks out. A big thrust kick by Jey, and then the third pedigree attempt, the second pedigree hit, and then a stomp to main event Jey Uso, and Rollins retains the title clean at 22-34. McIntyre then on the outside with a Claymore to Rollins, and then Uso, and then a suplex to Jey Uso through the table, saying the truth will set you free. I gave the main event 3.5 stars. I saw that coming. I saw Drew coming to the ring. I figured he'd show up, but I thought he was going to show up and cost Jey Uso the title, not beat him up afterwards. But I'm glad they had the match end with a clean finish. And then they did the attack afterwards, if they're going to do the attack at all. So we got good things with Cody and Nakamura for next week. We got Jey Uso and Drew McIntyre in a program. We're going to probably get Rollins and Punk in a program. Then we'll have Orton and the Bloodline in a program. Then have LA Knight probably with Logan Paul, unless somebody else wins the tournament like Kevin Owens. That leaves Sami Zayn and a couple others without a program, but it looks like those are the main programs heading into the Royal Rumble. So it looks like the WWE has a stacked card coming up. This Friday night on SmackDown should be interesting with Randy Orton and the Bloodline. Well, maybe Roman Reigns will show up. I'm not sure if he's advertised or not. I know that it'll be getting my interest, and CM Punk's going to be on, so we'll see what he says. I'm looking forward to CM Punk next week on Raw, though, because I want to see what he says about Seth Rollins more than I want to see him what he does on Friday Night SmackDown. I think they're just going to bump the rating a little bit. I think he's going to do more on next week's Raw. So hopefully people just give it time and let it play out. I thought it was a bad choice to leave him off tonight's Raw. I rate the show a 5.5 out of 10 just because of the wrestling alone. Three matches over 3 stars. And you tend to get it that if you're going to just deliver out good matches. So you're going to get a passing rating from me. But there's more to Raw than good matches. I like how they're setting things up, but there's a lot on Raw tonight that left to be desired. They could have been more story driven. I felt like there was just a lot of matches and not the best storytelling. Cody and Shinsuke didn't really captivate me this week. But we'll see. I mean, it's long-term storytelling, so let's see it play out. Hopefully Raw improves next week, and hopefully it's a little bit better of a rating. They had great matches. You can't take that away from them. Anyways, for this Raw review, December the 4th, 2023, as I said, I rated it 5.5 out of 10. I'm Brett Mix. Hit like and subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you here for Friday Night SmackDown. And don't forget to watch my Monday Night War reviews on my channel if you haven't already, because it's a lot of fun going back and reliving that. Anyways, have a good night, guys. I'm Brett Mix, and I'm out.